It's so weird. So weird. What? Okay. Here's what we got to talk about now. In a couple of the videos I did last week, I was referencing a movie, a Netflix original that my wife and I have been watching called To the Bone. So it took us like 4 days to watch this hour-and-a-half movie, but we finally watch it. When you're parents and you got 2 young kids, then watching an average size movie, there's sprinklers I'm trying to avoid. This is like an old school NES game. There's a sprinkler up there. It's hard to watch a regular movie when you have 2 young kids. By the time you get home from work and you have to do all the dishes and get them to bed, it's like 8:30. So it's not like you're gonna just have enough energy to watch a movie. So 4 nights, we watched this movie, and I liked it. I would give it a good rating. It wasn't perfect, but it was a good movie. To the Bone. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original, and it's starring Phil Collins' daughter. And Phil Collins is one of my favorite musicians ever. Phil Collins. He's a real man's man. And I didn't even think about this. Oh, Phil Collins. How bald was he? He was like always bald. Even when he started out as the drummer of Genesis in the 70s, he was like Norwood 4, if that. But when he was super famous and influential in the 80s, man, he was so bald. And he wasn't like completely shaving his head either. Wow. He's truly one of my favorite musicians, Phil Collins. Okay, so anyway, back to the Bone. In that movie, Keanu Reeves, is his part in the movie is he's basically kind of like the counselor that helps these girls with eating disorders overcome their help them overcome their eating disorders, as they basically are obsessed with how thin they can become, and no matter how thin they are, they're still not happy. And it's an eating disorder. And as you watch the movie, in case you didn't already know, with eating disorders, it's not a rational thought process. It's not that they simply want to be thinner. It's basically that some kind of traumatic thing happened in their life. That's typically the case. And they end up basically, it's a disorder. It's a disorder. And so he tries to get to the root of the problem in this. And as I was watching it, I just saw so many similarities between what I was seeing in that movie and the concepts that were being explained and what I talk about 2 or 3 times a day in my videos. So sure enough, I was watching a YouTube video recently, like an hour ago, and it was talking about psychological limitations that people have on themselves. And like, for example, not that I've ever been on a subway or a train, but if you ever were in your country where you live, because here in America, in Nashville, people don't ride trains or subways. But anyway, if there's someone very attractive, whether it's a man or a woman, average-looking people are less likely to sit next to them because they feel intimidated and or they don't want to feel compared to that beautiful-looking person. It's actually starting to rain now. And so that was one of the things that they mentioned. Well, now, that's the thing. I want to keep making this video, but it is raining and I'm not a victim. I'm victorious, but I don't want to mess up my phone. So here's to making this maybe under this tree. Oh, hey, there's an umbrella right there. See? Like I said, I'm victorious. And victorious people always find a way to overcome. I found this umbrella. Okay, so as I was watching this video, it mentioned something called, let me look it up. It is called negative body. That's, if you Google negative body, you'll find the same thing I did, negative body. And as they were talking about this, they were actually saying how people have a perceived imperfection about themselves, and that alone keeps them from thinking they deserve what everybody else has. So therefore they get less in life because they impose that belief system on themselves. And I was thinking, this sounds like what I talk about on a daily basis. So sure enough, I Googled, right before I made this video, I Googled negative body. When you Google it, this is what comes up. And it's a thing from nationaleatingdisorders.org under a blog called What is Body Image by the National Eating Disorders Association. And here's the definition it gives. Negative body image is the full term. A distorted perception of your shape. You perceive parts of your body unlike they are. You are convinced that only other people are attractive and that your body size or shape is a sign of your personal failure. You feel ashamed, self-conscious, and anxious about your body, end quote. Don't believe me? Google it, look it up. Now, obviously, this is not a perfect translation, and I've probably hinted at it before accidentally, that there's definitely a connection between females who have eating disorders and men who are losing their hair and ultimately kind of obsessed with that, whose life to some degree is held back. Even if it's not altered any of your life decisions, still though, if you give it thought during the day, then that's time you're thinking about your hair loss that you're not thinking about something else. Your youth is being disrupted. What is that? Oh, there's like a coyote behind me. It's not just the leaves rustling. That your life, your youth, to some degree is being distracted, is being stolen by this concept that you're ultimately not as worth or as much as guys who have as much hair as you at your age. So, if you haven't watched To the Bone, you probably wouldn't watch it if I weren't bringing it up now, because you're like, why would I want to watch a movie about girls with a eating disorder? But if you did watch it, you'd see what I'm saying. Because in the movie, Keanu Reeves, which one commenter on my videos at one point in history said that I remind him of Keanu Reeves, but his character is explaining ultimately that you can choose to overcome this, or you can choose to allow it to consume you, but ultimately it's your choice. And I'm so much of that concept. Here's the newest theory. Officially, I want to say this out loud. I personally see a relation between eating disorders in females and hair loss in males. That the hair loss brings out what is called the theory of negative body. And everything could have been fine up until that one point. And then it wrecks your life until you find a way to overcome it. So as you watch this movie To the Bone on Netflix, you think, those girls are crazy. They're starving to death and they're going to die. And they're so obsessed with this thing. Just eat a freaking burger already and get healthy. It's so easy of a solution. And you watch it and you're frustrated with these girls. I mean, they're starving themselves. Because in their own minds, they're not as good as everybody else as they compare themselves to other people. So could you see where I'm coming from though? I think it stopped raining. Could you see where I'm coming from? That there's definitely some parallels in the way that so many people watching my videos are going through the same thing, just with hair loss. Because you think these girls they've got a disorder. There's something not right in their brain as they become consumed with this. And and again, it's not a matter of, okay, you're dealing with hair loss, get over it. That's not it at all. And something hopefully you've seen in my videos is I always propose solutions. Even in the video I just made earlier today, I said there's never been a better time to lose your hair. It's cool to shave your head. There's drugs on the market. There's hair transplants. There's options. Now, granted, some of them may have some side effects. Maybe you don't have the right head shape for shaving your head. I don't know. And I guess I need to make a video about that later. But man, that's real thunder. Thunder in Nashville. That's real. Okay, so help me sort this out. Help me unpack this. I feel that I'm onto something here. I feel that there's definitely some similarities between eating disorders in females and men whose self-esteem is just destructed by this hair loss that they can't seem to get over. Can you see where I'm coming from as I see those parallels? I'm passionate about this. Passion is what you see in me. I still didn't press the button. Rage!